So this item, unlike our first two items, is a great example of an item that kept its value when it was resold for the first time. Hello fellow Aussians, and welcome to the channel. As collectors, we toss around a lot of different anagrams. And one of the anagrams that we'll be discussing today is OOAK. Or one of a kind. Exactly what makes a one of a kind, and are one of a kinds actually worth in investing and putting into your Wizard of Oz collection, are some really great questions that have multiple answers. Today we'll be looking at a couple different one of a kind items from my Wizard of Oz collection. Some of these items I have previously talked about, and some of them I haven't. There are many different types of one-of-a-kind items. These items could include prototypes, samples, original artwork, or even artist-made items. These are all one of a kind. The first item that we'll be looking at today is a pair of ruby slippers. Now, I know a lot of y'all are probably going to say that why does that count as a one-of-a-kind? Well, depending on how the maker created the slippers, each and every pair that they made might actually look slightly different because they were using different techniques at the time, and they also might be using different shoes. This particular pair was made by Jeff Legacy back in the early 2000s, and he used 1930s pumps. Now, of course, even the slippers in the film The Wizard of Oz weren't all exactly the same shoe. And this can even be seen in replicas that use shoes from the 1930s. They don't all exactly look the same, so I would definitely designate this as a one-of-a-kind piece. Obviously, investing in a pair of handmade replica ruby slippers is certainly something that I think most Wizard of Oz fans would say is definitely a worthy thing to add to your collection. And of course I would agree with that. These are certainly the most beautiful pair of slippers that I have in my collection, and they look the most like Judy Garland's slippers from the film. Now, where of course the bad news comes in, is how much I paid for these versus how much they were originally commissioned for. These slippers were originally commissioned for $1,000 over 20 years ago. Quite a lot of money back then. And the sad part is how much I paid for them. I only paid $300. Now, this of course gets into circumstances as to when and where I picked up these slippers, but these kinds of things can happen. If, for instance, you are a seller and you're not selling to Wizard of Oz fans. Those particular slippers I picked up at an estate sale, and they were the only piece in that sale that was Wizard of Oz related. Everything else that was there, rather strangely, was office supplies and office furniture. Yes, I know, it's a very bizarre story, but that's literally where I found them. So if, for instance, you are trying to sell your collection and you know that you have a piece like those ruby slippers that you spent quite a lot of money on, it's definitely within your best interest to sell it to the people that are the most likely to buy it. So that's definitely something to consider if you're ever in a position to want to sell your Wizard of Oz collection. Now, I have talked more in detail about selling off your Oz collection. If you're interested in just hearing about that, I'll link that video down in the description below. So that's a great example of a piece that I got for a relatively cheap price, and it originally didn't cost that. Now, our next item, I'm not entirely sure how you would price this one. This is a prototype of the Journey Back to Oz VHS and doll set. This particular set is the only one that has the doll dressed in blue gingham. There is this very interesting little piece right here which shows a sample of the fabric that would ultimately be used for the doll's outfit. If and when I am selling off my Oz collection, I have absolutely no idea how much I would sell this off for. I only spent $10 to get this, by the way. So I don't really know what it's worth. As time has moved on, these Journey Back to Oz doll and VHS sets have started to become rarer, and some people have been paying a lot more than what I was paying back in the early 2000s when I was collecting these dolls. So I'm not entirely sure what I would price this doll at, but she is inside my Wizard of Oz collection. Another type of one-of-a-kind that doesn't come up that often are actual companies that make one-of-a-kind pieces that are then auctioned off, typically for charity. I have at least an example of that in my collection. This is a 29-inch Betsy McCall Dorothy doll. That was made by the Robert Tonner Doll Company back in 2005, and she was auctioned off at the 2005 International Wizard of Oz Club auction. And this particular doll I bought from the person who won her at that auction. So this doll has only been owned by 2 people. How much exactly did I pay for her? I'm not sure I said in that original video, but I did pay the same price as what the collector spent back in 2005. So this item, unlike our first 2 items, is a great example of an item that kept its value when it was resold for the first time. So it might be at least a little more comforting to know that some items do actually retain their value. Now, our last item that we'll be talking about is something that I think always retains value. And that is original artwork. This is one of several Wizard of Oz paintings that I have inside my Wizard of Oz collection that were all done by my dad. This particular painting was done for an International Wizard of Oz Club art contest. And yes, in case you're wondering, this painting did win the contest. My dad is what they call a colorist. All of his paintings are just absolutely exploding with vibrant colors. This particular painting, he was interested in really experimenting with lighting, especially with the Tin Woodman, and seeing that reflective light going off of his tin body. Now, while I didn't pay for any of my Wizard of Oz paintings, because they were all done by my dad, I can assure you that original artwork will always retain its value. So I hope this video helped you to at least be able to understand what a one-of-a-kind item is, and also kind of how to price it if you are to at least part with it, or if you want to sell off your Oz collection. One of the things that you definitely don't want to do when and if you're ever in a position to sell off items in your collection or sell off your whole collection is to just have people give you a price. I've now heard this one a couple of times, either at estate sales or even at Wizard of Oz conventions. And it's certainly not a smart way or even a courteous way of selling off your Oz collection. Price your items. It will make it a whole lot easier for you in the long run if you price your items in your Oz collection. Or at least if you have a ballpark. And that was just a sampling of some of the one-of-a-kind items that I have inside my Wizard of Oz collection. If you'd like to see more one-of-a-kind items, leave me a comment down below. Do you have any one-of-a-kind items inside your Wizard of Oz collection? I'd love to hear about them. Let's have a discussion down in the comments section. And if you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. New videos are posted every 2 weeks on the 15th and last day of each month. And if that doesn't satisfy your appetite for Oz, follow the link in the description to ozclub.org and join the International Wizard of Oz Club. Until next time, bye y'all.